Gilmore Girls vibes, but make it haunted. Something about being a little bit scared really puts me in the mood for fall. Big Song of Achilles vibes, atmospheric and cozy. I will be saying those words a lot. This book is about me. But there is nothing that screams autumn and cozy more than murder. Hello spooky friends, my name is Lexi, and today I will be sharing with you all of the most cozy and atmospheric books to put you in the mood for fall. Hello spooky friends, my name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because today I am actually filming one of my favorite videos to film. I film this video every single year, and that is my fall book recommendations video. I love making this video because everything about fall is my favorite. There is something about this time of year, the crunching of the leaves, the crisp air, the cozy sweaters, the piping hot cups of tea every single night. It just feels magical and it makes me so incredibly happy. One of my favorite things to do to kind of put myself in the mood for fall is to read books that specifically either take place in the fall or have a very cozy atmospheric setting. So the categories for this particular list are going to be dark and moody atmospheric books, lighthearted and whimsical books, witchy books, cozy mysteries, the spooky and the supernatural, and graphic novels that are perfect for this time of year. I also make this video every single year, and so if you are looking for even more recommendations afterwards, I will go ahead and list all of my old fall recommendation videos down below as well. Okay, so let's begin with dark and moody books. The first book I have here is A Lesson in Vengeance, and this is by Victoria Lee, and this is considered a YA thriller. Everything about this book is quintessential for the fall. We've got tarot card readings, we've got witches that have been burned at the stake, we've got a lot of dark academia vibes, and murder. So much murder. What really makes this book feel dark and moody though are the aesthetics. I mean, the entire book actually kind of reads like a Pinterest board for dark academia, and I am here for it. This particular book is following Felicity, and Felicity is finishing her senior year at this mysterious boarding preparatory school called the Dalloway School. This school had all of these different founders who famously were burned at the stake for being witches. Felicity is convinced that the boarding school is actually haunted. A new girl comes in named Ellis, and Ellis is also a senior, and she is currently writing a book all about the Dalloway witches. A lot of this book is both of them teaming up together, trying to find out what really happened, and also trying to figure out if the boarding school is haunted. This is a very, very dark book, so if you are looking for those dark academia vibes, or if you are looking for a book that is going to have all of those spooky, dark, and eerie feels, this is definitely the book for you. The next book I have is The Picture of Dorian Gray, and this is by Oscar Wilde. And this is considered a gothic classic. This is the ultimate dark and brooding book for a cloudy gray day. A Dorian Gray day, if you will. So this is a book that is following a man named Dorian Gray, who is considered very, very handsome and attractive, and whom every single person seems to sort of fall in love with. It's a story about his corruption. It's a story about how a lot of his vanity kind of goes to his head. There is kind of a little bit of like a supernatural element in this. It has so many wonderful aesthetic vibes in it. If you read this, you are definitely going to want to curl up with a nice hot cup of tea. And I think it's just eerie enough to make you feel a little bit scared as well. And finally, the last book that is going to be on the dark and moody atmospheric list is going to be If We Were Villains, and this is by M.L. Rio. This is a book that has big Song of Achilles vibes. I can't really explain it, but if you happened to love Song of Achilles, I think you're probably going to love this book as well. Also, this is a book for all of the English majors who miss taking Shakespeare classes in college. You'll love this one. Trust me. So this is another dark academia-esque book, and we are following Oliver in this book. Oliver has just been released from jail for a crime that he did not commit, and he is recounting the events of what really happened and who really committed this murder in his friend group. And in the past timeline, we are learning about Oliver and his slightly toxic group of friends who love Shakespeare, and they are all theater majors at this very elite university. And this book is about the 1 year that they took their acting too far car, and people died. What makes this perfect for autumn though is the setting. A lot of this is set around the fall time, and so you've got like the crunching of the leaves, you've got the warm fires, you've got all of the like school vibes as well. And so I really feel like when you are reading this, it just feels more like autumn because a lot of this takes place in the cold and in the autumn season. Next up, let's talk about some lighthearted and whimsical reads. Autumn is one of my favorite times to read books that have a little bit of magic in it because it feels like a magical time of year. It's not just the fact that Halloween is around the corner or the fact that I am convinced that my house is haunted about 90% of the time in October, but it's also just so magical outside. And autumn always makes me want to reach for more magical and fantastical stories. Let's go ahead and start with Roses and Rot by Kat Howard. This is a book that has some dark academia vibes, but also seems a lot like a fairy tale, and I love the cozy vibes of this so much. So this particular book is following Imogen and also Marin, her sister. They are twins, and they both get into a program basically for people who excel in the arts, and it's a very, very elite and exclusive program. Imogen has grown up reading fairy tales, and she wanted to be an author, and then her sister Marin is going to this elite artistic program because she is a beautiful dancer. But once they're at this program, some strange and mysterious things start to happen. The campus where they are located may or may not have some magical influence, and we're kind of following their journey together. A lot of this has like some very adult content because both of these girls have also been abused by their mother. That trauma from their childhood is really what's propelling a lot of their art forward. They're almost healing their trauma through their art, and so there are a lot of trigger warnings and really dark topics in this book, but it's absolutely one of the most magical and whimsical stories for this time of year. The next two books I have are middle grades. I highly, highly recommend if you love whimsical stories and if you also love books that make you feel super, super cozy, you pick up a couple middle grades this autumn season because in my opinion, a lot of middle grades really make you feel super cozy. And the next book is no exception. So the next book I have here is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making, and this is by Catherine M. Valente. If you liked Alice in Wonderland but wish that instead of Wonderland she had been lost in Autumnland, this is the story for you. So this is a fairy tale that is very, very inspired by a lot of old traditional Victorian fairy tales, and it is just so atmospheric and cozy. I will be saying those words a lot. This is following a girl named September, and September is whisked away to Fairyland. Fairyland is slowly dying essentially, and she has to try to save it. But what makes this story so special is the writing. There are so many beautiful and lyrical things that come out of this book, and specifically the reason that I have put it on this list is because at one point September actually goes to a place in Fairyland, and I believe it's called Autumnland, and that is a place where it is autumn all of the time, and she kind of has to do like a little bit of a quest there, but it's so perfect because Catherine M. Valente describes all of this wonderful fall food and the crunching of the leaves and this magical forest, and it is the most autumnal book and book scene I've ever read in my entire life. So if you like traditional old nonsensical fairy tales and Victorian fairy tales, I think you're really, really gonna like this, but you're especially gonna really like this if you love descriptions of fall. And then my last book recommendation for my whimsical reads is going to be The House with Chicken Legs, and this is by Sophie Anderson, and again, this is a middle grade and a fantasy. So this particular book is following Marinka, and Marinka lives with her grandmother who lives in this magical house that has chicken legs. Marinka's grandma is actually none other than Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is this very, very important person who actually helps the dead cross over to the other side. And she is training Marinka to also be just like her so that she can someday help the dead cross over to the other side as well. But Marinka wants to be in charge of her own life and destiny. It is just so cozy. There are so many scenes in here about hot fireplaces and really, really good food, and the house is so magical. You will fall in love with every single character in this story. It is absolutely perfect. Okay, now let's go ahead and go on to cozy mysteries. I don't know why, I really don't know why, but there is nothing that screams autumn and cozy more than murder. And so I have put together 3 different books that have fit the bill for cozy murder mysteries. Yes. The first book is a book that I actually just finished and I gave 5 stars to, and that is Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. This is considered like a staple in the whodunit genre, and I think that this is also considered to be an adult classic book. So Murder on the Orient Express is following a famous detective who has just gotten on the Orient Express. I don't want to say his name because it's French and my American accent will totally butcher it, but I will try. Monsieur Poirot? Monsieur Poirot. Monsieur Poirot. If I say it in my American accent, it would be Monsieur Poirot. I don't want to say that. So I'm just gonna say the detective, okay? A famous detective gets on the Orient Express and then there is a murder in the middle of the night and he has to crack the case because the train is now at a standstill. They are trapped in a snowdrift. I will also say that while this is the perfect cozy murder mystery for autumn season, this would also be a great one for the wintertime as well because there is a lot of snow in this. But it's just a whodunit. We're trying to figure out who killed this man named Samuel Ratchet. It is so gripping. It is so wonderful. There are so many fun and interesting characters. I think the ending might make you just a little bit emotional. The next one we have here is a book that I have not read actually. However, it's a book that I really, really want to read and I wanted to include it on the list because it sounded kind of perfect for fall. And that is by Julie Berry and it is The Scandalous Sisterhood of Prick Willow Place. And this is a middle grade and also a cozy mystery. This particular book is following the girls at this boarding school whose headmistress has mysteriously been murdered. They believe that if the police are involved, they will all be sent home and they don't want to leave their school. And so they have to cover up the murders from their neighbors and convince everyone that everything is all right. And then they have to team up together to try to figure out who actually killed their headmistress. It feels like a very traditional whodunit story. And I love that this is all going to take place in kind of like a cozy boarding school and that they all have to team up together to figure out who killed their headmistress. But also the cover alone, it's giving me so many good vibes. It just feels autumnal based off of aesthetics alone, you know? And like we love to see it. And then the final book that is going to be in this category is going to be The Strangers, and this is by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This is another middle grade. I just finished this as well. This is so good. I think a lot of people are really, really going to enjoy this because this has one of my very favorite things, and that is short chapters. There is something about a book that has a lot of short chapters. I have no idea why. I don't understand the science of it, but I can read a book that is 300 pages faster if they have short chapters than a book that has like longer chapters, but is the same amount of pages. I don't know if that makes any sense. On top of that, Margaret Peterson Haddix just had such a great concept in this book, and every single chapter also ended with a cliffhanger, so I could not put this book down. So we are following Chess, Finn, and Emma, who are all siblings and all have a very, very nice life with their mom, when one day they see a report about 3 missing children with their exact same name and birth dates. And that kind of sets off the chain of events to what will then happen to them, where they have to try to figure out who these children are and if they really know their mom at all. It is so good. It is so fast-paced. You will love every single one of these characters, but also it's perfect for the autumnal season because it is set in autumn. And the descriptions of autumn and fall in this book really make you feel warm and cozy and also a little bit cold as well because it's a little bit cold in the book. I love it so much. I highly recommend it. It truly is the perfect cozy mystery for autumn. And now let's move on to some of the witch books. The first book is a middle grade and it is called Night Books, and this is by J.A. White. I wanted to include this one because they actually just made a movie out of this book and it's now available on Netflix. So if you're anything like me and you like to read the book before you see the movie, you might want to pick this up and then check out the movie on Netflix. This particular book is about a kid named Alex, and Alex loves to write about horror. But one day he decides to give this up because apparently a lot of his friends think he's really, really strange for liking horror and anything involving Halloween. Honestly, I feel like this book is about me. I mean, I had a lot of friends, but honestly, his name is Alex and he likes to write and he loves everything spooky and Halloween-esque. Alex, You don't have to give up the horror, man. I will be your friend. On his way to go and throw away all of his old manuscripts and notebooks, he is lured into the trap of a witch's apartment. The only way that she will keep him alive is if he tells her scary stories every single night. It's a little bit like 1001 Arabian Nights, where he has to tell a story every single night, and we get to see kind of like his spooky imagination. I love it so much. I love the witch in here as well. I love the entire tale. I think it is magical and a little bit scary. So if you're into that vibe, you might want to pick up Night Books. Next up, we've got a book that I have not read yet, but I wanted to tell you guys about, and that is The Witch Haven, and this is by Sasha Payton Smith. This book sounds like absolutely everything to me. We're following Frances, who lives in the 1900s in New York, and she's working as a seamstress when one day she is attacked mysteriously by a man. When the police come, the man actually has scissors sticking out of his neck, but Frances swears she has no idea how that happened. Two mysterious nurses appear and tell her that they have to take her to a sanitarium where she has to stay. However, when they arrive at the sanitarium, Frances discovers that it is in fact not a sanitarium, but a school for witches. The vibes in that scream fall, like they scream Halloween to me. I think it will be wonderful. Also, we've got another cozy element of murder in here, which again, I have no idea how that's cozy, but you know, it works. And then finally, we have one of my very favorite books about witches, and that is The Wicked Deep, and this is by Shea Ernshaw. This is a YA fantasy, and it is severely underrated in my opinion. So this particular book is following Penny, and Penny lives in a little coastal town that is apparently haunted every single year by 3 witches. So there were 3 witches who were burned at the stake, and they have put a curse on the town that they will come back every single year and drown 3 boys for all of the men who decided to kill them and burn them at the stake. And we're kind of following Penny and her perspective when a new boy comes to her town and she wants to protect him. And it's just such an atmospheric setting. I love the coastal town. I love all of the different people involved. I love the curse of the witches. I think everything about this just kind of screams autumn. It's one of the most perfect books if you want to feel a little bit spooky, but also a lot cozy. And speaking of spooky, let's move on to the spooky and supernatural books. So one of my favorite ways to feel super cozy during the fall season is to read books that are a little bit scary. I love a good supernatural tale, whether it involves monsters or a ghost story or unexplainable weird things that happen in the night. Something about being a little bit scared really puts me in the mood for fall, but not a lot scared. So these are a little scary, but mostly spooky, and I feel like most people could read these. The first book I have here is actually Horrid, and this is by Katrina Leno, and this is going to be a YA thriller, but possibly with a little bit of a ghost story twist. This book is following a mother and a daughter, and they move back to this very quintessential perfect little town. Would remind a lot of people of like Stars Hollow, and so the way I pitch this to people is that this is like Gilmore Girls vibes, but make it haunted. We are following Jane in the story, and Jane and her mom are moving back to her grandmother's mansion. Jane's grandmother has actually just passed away, and so they have to kind of take care of her old house. But Jane is convinced that the house is not right and that the house itself might just be haunted. This is creepy, so only pick this up if you like a little bit of creepy tension in your books. Next, we have House of Hollow, and this is by Crystal Sutherland. So this again is going to be a YA fantasy, and I feel like this book is just so perfect for the spooky season because it freaked me out. This particular book is following 3 sisters who all apparently went missing when they are younger but don't actually remember what happened. When they come back, they all look very different and are all described as unnaturally beautiful. The book actually follows Iris, who is convinced that a curse has befallen her and her sisters. One day, her older sister goes missing, and she is convinced that she has to find her or events from the past will be repeating themselves again. And it's kind of unraveling this mystery of what happened to them as children and what happened to their big sister. It is creepy, it is suspenseful, and also Crystal Sutherland's writing in here is so atmospheric. It is so spooky, it is so gloomy, it is so haunting, and as you're reading it, you will definitely second guess every single shadow you see in your room at 2 in the morning. So don't read this at night, is what I'm trying to say. And then rounding out the spooky books is going to be Sawkill Girls, and this is by Claire Legrand. This is a book for people who love monsters, AKA me. This is a book for me. So this is a book that follows 3 different perspectives. We are following Zoe, Marion, and Val, and all 3 are girls who live on this haunted little island called Sawkill. And Sawkill is known for their mysterious forest that might or might not have a monster lurking in it. The book in particular is about these 3 girls teaming up to try to figure out if there is a monster and what really is happening with the mysterious disappearing girls on this island. You're gonna feel really cozy and a little bit scared while reading it, and I highly, highly recommend. And then finally, I have 3 graphic novels to share with you. So I personally love graphic novels so much. The aesthetics of the graphic novels can really, really help to put you in the mood for the season. And the 3 that I have here will definitely put you in the mood for fall. The first book that I have here is going to be by Rainbow Rowell, and it is Pumpkinheads, and it is the perfect graphic novel for this time of year. This particular book is all about friendship and a pumpkin patch. Like, what more could you ask for? So this particular book is following 2 best friends, Deja and Josie. They both work at a pumpkin patch every single year. And this is their last year because they are seniors, and they decide to make this the best year working there ever. I love this book because it has so many images of this pumpkin patch, of bonfires, of all of the fun like autumnal foods. It's a little bit spooky, it's so incredibly cozy, and it's just about them having the best night ever as friends. I love everything about this, and I think if you love like very autumnal feels and anything to do with like pumpkin patches, you will love this book. The next book I have here is The Seance Tea Party, and this is by Ramina Yee. This is going to be a book I recommend for anybody who loved Casper the Friendly Ghost and always wish for a ghost friend yourself. This book isn't necessarily going to provide that for you. However, you will get to see somebody else become friends with a ghost.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
This book is about Laura, and Laura loves being a kid, and she wishes that her friends weren't in such a hurry to grow up. She just wants somebody who is going to play with her all of the time. And then one day she finds a ghost friend in her house, and her ghost friend and her decide to do everything together. They have tea parties, they go trick-or-treating together, and they stay friends throughout a lot of Laura's childhood. And the book is just about their friendship and all of their fun little things that they do every autumn together. This book is so beautiful. I loved the color palette in it. I loved all of the different cozy autumnal vibes. I think that it is perfect. It'll definitely make you wish that you had a friendly, fun little ghost pal as well. And it's just so cozy and cute. Also, side note, I feel like I kind of look like this girl, which like I'm living for, by the way. Like, you cannot tell me that's not me, you know? And then the final book I have here is Mooncakes, and this is by Wendy Yu and Susanna Walker. This book has every single thing you could ever want for fall. We've got an ancient curse, we've got witches, we've got werewolves, we've got a little bit of romance, and we have got a lot of baking. I don't know why, but baking always reminds me of fall, and I loved how much baking was packed into this book. And that alone is enough of a reason to pick it up. So this particular book is about a teen witch named Nova who finds a werewolf in the forest one night and discovers that it is her childhood friend Tam, who has come back and is dealing, I think, with like a curse. It is so cozy, it is magical, it is cute, it has so many atmospheric vibes, and it is one of my top recommendations for the autumn season. For sure. And I think, you guys, that is it for my list this year. I hope you found 1 or 2 brand new cozy and atmospheric books to add to your autumnal TBR. Please let me know if you have any recommendations for me. And if you have made it to the end, please go ahead and leave me a book emoji. There are a couple, so you can choose whichever one you want. But yeah, leave me the book emoji. And if you have any recommendations, again, please leave them down below as well. I think that's it for now though, book lovers. So until next time, you guys, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book. And I will talk to you very soon. Stay spooky.